All right, since all the speakers are here, let's do a mic check. Lydia, Wojtek, Dini, are you there? Is your mic okay?
1, 2, 3. Is my
We
mic
are here.
okay?
Testing, testing.
Can you hear us all right?
Yeah, and there's no echo, there's no voice bouncing around. That's awesome. Okay, I wouldn't wait much longer, to be honest. We have a lot to cover, and I saw a lot of people who requested to talk, so maybe we will expand the AMA side of the call a bit longer than expected. So let's kick it in already. Do you agree?
Let's do it.
Sure.
All right. So as I anticipated a couple of minutes back, the first part of the event will be dedicating to us a bit catching up with you guys, not only with the projects update that we release every month, but also to talk about what have been the achievements so far, in particular since the last call in late March 2023. And then we collected some questions that you asked us on Twitter or Telegram or in general that you usually ask us to have the point of view of our founders to answer. So let's start already with the first part. What is the state of the project? What is Data Lake have been doing in the past months? And let's kick it already with Wojtek and Ligia. What have been the achievements in the core side of things, as well as the partnerships that we've achieved in the past months? Who wants to go first?
I can go first. And first of all, thank you for everyone for being here with us today to share. And we wanted to organize this AMA with you for you an opportunity to dive deeply in what we are doing, to ask all the questions that you may want to ask. So without further ado, as you know, Data Lake is a project securing ethical access to medical data for various kinds of research, for technology and biotech companies, to help discover new drugs, to promote better treatment pathways, to establish registries, and to essentially fuel a number of different applications in the healthcare sector that are fed with medical data. On that mission, we are working on both sides of the market. So on the one side, we have data providers, so healthcare professionals that are sharing their data ethically based on patient consent stored using our technology. And on the other side, we have data recipients, so companies that are interested in getting ethical data access for various kinds of research. Fortunately, and we are very happy to share with you that recently we have been successful in securing major partnerships on both sides. Publicly, and we are waiting specifically for this. And this is an important data provider joining us, which is a company called Diagnostica. They are one of the biggest providers of diagnostic tests in this corner of the world, caring for over 24 million patients yearly. So looking where we started a year ago, now we can see that we are really gaining traction with the biggest names and the biggest players in the healthcare industry, including companies that are caring for over half of the population of our country. So this is incredibly exciting, and we couldn't have been more happy to share it with you. On the other side, recently we've also launched an incredibly interesting project teaming up with the Donate Your Data Foundation and one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world, which is a project for analysis of patient pathways with a very specific diagnosis. So what here is we are focusing on delivering on
Sorry, Wojtek,
data.
I lost you a bit. Okay, maybe now it's a bit better. You want to repeat the last 20 seconds?
Sure, I'll try to do my best. So over the last year of work on biggest and the most reputable data providers, the biggest diagnostic chains with private and public hospitals, as well as work with one of the biggest enterprises, R&D enterprises, pharma companies, Other than that, we were also happy one of the key opinion leaders globally, whose name is Brittany Kaiser, who's probably most famous for her work as a whistleblower and privacy champion, previous business development officer for Cambridge Analytica, who's also been featured in a Netflix documentary called The Great Hack, which we recommend to everybody. And Brittany visited us on a conference in Warsaw, AI and MedTech, which took place about 2 weeks ago. And we are exploring various ways of working together to further the promise of private access to various kinds of medical data. So maybe that's from my side. I don't know whether you, Ligia, or Dini would like to add anything.
Sure. I would like a little bit about sales and business development, because when it comes to sales and BD, we learned a lot during the last year, and we all knew that medical data is a new gold, and this is crucial for any medical development, which is happening not only when it comes to AI algorithms, but only about every medical development, every drug development, every patient pathway development. And during this last year, we actually get to know what kind of specific products are needed by our clients. So we know that they need medical data, but we also know what are specific products based on this data. And right now we are focusing on a couple of products. First is patients' registries, which are extremely important, especially for pharmaceutical or technological companies. To address needs of very specific patients groups, for example, patients with rare diseases. And it is super hard to create this kind of registry without patients' consent. So this is a great product for our project. Second is actually research in silico. And if you don't know what does in silico means, it actually means that this is a research based only on medical data and only on data and only on simulation, like computer simulation run on this data. So it means that we can do like clinical trials or medical research without actually involving actively patient, without collecting blood samples from this patient or additional medical tests. We can only collect their data, and on this data we can, for example, secure registration of a new drug for patients. So what we need is, of course, patient consents and effective system for collecting medical data from this patient. So this means that we are entering with our project the new scheme of products that are closely connected to clinical trials. And third is of course, sharing medical data for development of AI algorithms. All we know what is happening when it comes to artificial intelligence right now, and AI, especially in medical field. You could see new information about that ChatGPT is more empathetic than doctors, or the smarter than doctors. But in general, we believe that AI is a new revolution in healthcare, and for AI development, it is crucial to actually have access to data. And what is super important here, that we are not only like theoretically speaking about what our client needs, we actually have contracted signed agreements with clients for every of these three products, and we are widening more this targeted group of clients, which is pharma companies, technological companies, and AI companies. So we know already what is the language of our clients. We can communicate in this language, and we are successfully securing next agreements with our clients. Second thing is that there is this new European regulation coming into force in September, which you know about if you read our newsletter, our posts and articles. This is Data Governance Act, and this is like the form of a regulation, like a GDPR, for example, and it will come into force in every European country, and it is exactly about what are we doing in our project. This means, in very simple words, this regulation is that about that every citizen should have a right to give their consent for using their data with the help of as they state in this regulation, intermediary service provider, so the company that will secure the whole IT infrastructure for collecting consent and for securing flow of data. So we based strongly on Data Governance Act, and this regulation is coming into force this year, and already invited for a couple of conferences that are directly about Data Governance Act. I believe that the next phase of expanding our product will be using our product and data lake project in the context of DGA by, for example, other NGOs, other organizations that are working in data donation scheme.
Thank you, Wojtek and Ligia. And I wanted to highlight how much we've grown in the last year, not only as individuals and startuppers, but also
I hope that you heard. I finished.
No. Yeah, I heard you. Yeah. So as we grow, not only as individuals, but also as a company, and we, the medical data world is relatively a new one, at least as we know it today, and we are flexible enough to understand what the market demands, and we're flexible enough to supply it. Also, the new regulations are coming with the Data Governance Act in the European Union, and we are staying ahead of the curve. You mentioned we've been invited to a number of conferences to discuss the topic. And about this new brand awareness, about our new brand assets, Dini, I wanted to talk about our latest marketing achievements, and in particular the website, which is a bit the coronation of this path, at least a step of this path, let's say. Not the coronation. The coronation is still ahead, but I think we determined an important step in how we want customers and stakeholders to perceive our business. Dini, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Andrea. Great to be here and really excited to see a lot of people in our audience. So I want to talk about a few things, as Andrea said, the new website and branding, but overall the marketing and what we've accomplished. And so I want to start just by mentioning, you guys probably saw it was our biggest news from the last few weeks was our partnership with Genomes DAO. So what Genomes DAO are doing is very similar to what we're doing. They are working to secure genomic data. They're working to give a privacy-focused, ethical way for people to be able to own their data, to be able to share their data if they want or not, and to do all of that in a way that's provable on the blockchain, open, transparent. So as you might imagine, with what we're doing with medical data, there's a lot of core value alignment, and we were super excited when they were amenable and open to a partnership. And what I want to touch on here and why this partnership is important, what we're trying to do in DeSci, and specifically in our project and project like ours, is we're trying to turn the way that science is done and research is done completely on its head. There's a lot of problems in scientific research right now. There's a lot of problems in scientific publishing, and a lot of it is caused by gatekeeping by large companies and large financial interests. Actually, with DeSci and blockchain and transparency and openness and all of the principles of blockchain, we have the ability to change that. And I want to point out, you may have noticed, we've mentioned, for example, pharma companies as potential customers of ours. And one thing that's really important to remember here is, I know that in some respects, pharma companies do have a bad reputation, but here's the opportunity we have right now. We have the opportunity to change the way that research is done by these companies and ensure that the data that they are using is ethical, ethically sourced, and done based on patient consent. And that's not the typical way right now that it's done in the world, and we think that that needs to change. And that's why we're pushing so hard. That's why we're working with European institutions on this regulations aspect. Like, laws are not exactly super exciting. It's not something everyone wakes up every day thinking about wanting to get involved with. But the reason for that is because we see an amazing opportunity right now to ensure that ethical, consent-based access to data becomes the gold standard worldwide. And that's what we're working to do. So basically, we're setting the rules here. This is a brand new, let's say, revolution or wave of technology. And it's the companies like ours, the projects like ours, that are setting the ethical rules for engagement for these big companies to do their research. So that's why the Genomes DAO partnership is super exciting. and is not going to be the last. So other than that, what have we done in marketing? And then a little bit later, we'll talk about what's coming up. So we launched a new website, new branding. We have gone from concept to an actual company operating with customers coming up. You know, we started this project only a year ago, and we've gone pretty much from white paper and a light website to now a new website and branding that puts us as a global player in the medical data market. So we kind of had to put on our big boy pants, big girl pants, as they say, and really put out the image that the customers that we're looking for are looking for themselves. And we think we've done a pretty good job about that. And there will, of course, be further developments, and we will grow and evolve over time. But with our new website and new branding, we're making a statement that we're not just a project or a concept or a white paper. We are a legitimate operation and a big player in the ethical data access. Other than the new website and branding, we have had a ton of conference appearances the past couple of months. We were at Blocksplit, we were at the AI MedTech CEE conference, Impact Conference, Technology of Tomorrow, DeSci Belgrade. I participated in the EIT Health Talks, so that's EU government-funded health talks, Impact Conference, and more. I can't remember how many countries Ligia has been to in the last few weeks or a few months, but it's a lot, and every single time she's talking about medical data donation, data lake, and everything that we're working on. So while that may not be the, let's say, top blockchain conferences, we have done some of those. But to be honest with you, we're trying to use our time wisely. We have a small team. It's an amazing team, but our time is limited. And we are specifically choosing the conferences where we know that we're going to encounter potential clients, potential partners. And to be honest, it has been very, very, very fruitful, very successful so far. So this is our strategy. We will, of course, and we are discussing which big blockchain conferences we want to be at. But when it comes to what feeds into our core business and into making sure that we're a success, the conferences in the medtech technology realm have been very, very fruitful for us. So that has been amazing. We've also been doing multiple interviews, media appearances, podcast appearances. I think I was on 3 podcasts last week. I've got 2 more coming up in the next couple of weeks. We don't want to bother you with every single little media thing that we do in the announcements channel, but just be aware that we are getting out there in media, podcast, conferences, and making a lot of people aware of what it is that we're doing. Finally, another bit of exciting news. You may have seen in our newsletter, we were nominated for HackerNoon Startup of the Year. A lot of you guys have voted. From what I can tell, they're not very good at obfuscating who's in the lead, but it looks like we are maintaining the top position for the Startup of Poland of the Year. So that's really, really exciting. We'll definitely be sharing the link a few times this year because voting goes all the way to the end of the year. But as our project grows and as our audience grows, I'm sure our votes will too. So as I said, we'll talk a little bit more later about what's coming up in terms of marketing and stuff like that, but just wanted to give you guys a quick recap of all the things we're doing, all the ways that we're getting out there. It's been a super, super busy, but very exciting time for us at Data Lake.
Thank you, Dini. I love the fact you highlighted again the change that we've done from a concept to an actual operative startup that has its own customers and potential new customers and a whole range of stakeholders. I always want to highlight the fact that sometimes people complain about the fact that crypto don't have a real use cases, let's say, while here we have actually, our token is driven by real value because there is a real firm with real people working on it, with real customers paying for a real need, which is medical data in 2023. And about that, I would like to move on and talk about the token and the market conditions in general. So Wojtek, can you give us an overview on the past months on the crypto market in general, and in particular about our token Lake?
Yes, absolutely. Happy to do so. Once again, I would like to detach what's happening on the markets from what's happening among the builders, because I think that these are 2 different dynamics that we are observing. So obviously, the markets are as they are. There's been a handful of different events recently that haven't been great for the cryptocurrency or crypto asset markets. Having said that, we mostly think about ourselves as a project in a very specific sphere, a sphere of decentralized science. And on that, and in that area, we see an incredible growth and explosion of value being created by different projects that are iterating their way towards the market, finding different use cases, and also broadening our opportunities to partner with them. As we see what's going on the market, we also believe that we should just simply do our we know that we have this incredible and unique chance to really set the standard, what it means to share your data in a democratic way, to fund research in a transparent and democratic way, and all the other fantastic applications that different folks out there are working on in the decentralized science sphere. So yes, this is where we are. Of course, we are also a value-based company. And our token is also firmly based on the value of business that we are creating. And that's why you hear us talking all the time about companies, about partnerships, about products, about our clients, about finding our way to the market, because we still remain faithful to what we promised in the white paper. So to connect our economy with the value of the token, and be able to distribute the tokens among the users, among the data donors, thanks to whom we actually can make it happen. Obviously, on our roadmap, we also have different plans for increasing of the token, for listing on centralized exchanges. That does link into different ways of doing it effectively in 2023.
All right. Thank you, Wojtek, for the overview on the token and the market side. Absolutely, this side is growing week by week. We try to take the best news every month with our newsletter. These are monthly, but there's always a lot that we cannot cover because of our newsletter is structured. So really excited to be part of that trend, which I think it will be more and more prominent in the coming months and in the next cycle. I think we've given a recap on most of the fields, BD, marketing, and now also token. So without further ado, let's move to the community questions that we collected on Twitter, on Telegram, or that you simply asked us in the past weeks that we noticed, and now that we have the chance to ask our founders. So the first one is, do you guys have any plans to partner with other projects that are more like the same visions as yours? If so, what do you plan to benefit, or what is your expectations from these partnerships? And I would like to involve Dini and have him answer this question. So marketing, partnership, what to expect from these?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll get to marketing or partnerships in a second. I just want to talk a little bit about marketing. So for those who are listening and just joining us or haven't been here, since the beginning, I highly recommend that you take a look at one of our previous AMAs. It's listed on our YouTube channel. It's listed on our blog. And it was specifically about marketing. And we have a couple of people in here who I know have been around for some of the other projects I've been involved with, and they'll be a little bit familiar with my philosophy when it comes to ethical marketing, not using shilling groups, not paying for false hype, and not just pump and dumping or trying to build this hype value that is just basically waiting for bag holders to come and take your, to provide you exit liquidity. So that's not what we're trying to do. And when you think about it, here's the reason why. The medical data economy in Europe alone is worth 100 billion euros. 100 billion. That is a ridiculous amount of money. If we could just secure 1% of that, we're talking $1 billion project, right? And just knowing the team, knowing the plans that we have, I truly, truly believe that we have a very good chance of securing a significant portion of the data market. So this is why we're not focused on the typical hype stuff that you see in other projects. This is why we're focused on core business, and why a big part of our marketing is also going towards, let's say, the more traditional industry and key stakeholders and key potential customers, because they're the ones who are spending the big bucks on medical data, and we want to make sure that we capture that in an ethical way. So that said, we are going to be starting or continuing, but starting a second wave of our momentum campaign. We did this right at the beginning of the project to build the original awareness, which is how we built our Twitter up to almost 10K and our Instagram to where it is. We're going to start wave 2 of that in the next week or two. We're going to be engaging with Twitter key opinion leaders, YouTube channels, crypto podcasts. We're also going to be doing Reddit and social awareness campaigns. So all of the typical stuff other than shilling groups and just paying people to fake hype your project, we will be doing, and we continually do, but we're going to be doing a focused wave of that, a focus campaign in the next week or two, and kick that off. So how that impacts you, if you're listening, you're part of our community, we can always use your support. We can always use your help when it comes to visibility on Twitter, on Reddit, all of these other places. and we'll definitely give you an idea potentially of how you can help out. But as I always say, share, don't chill. Find really natural and apropos times to insert our projects. When people are asking for what's the coolest project that you're taking a look at, what's one that you're really excited about. These are ways that you could throw Data Lake in there and do it in a way that people will respond to. People don't respond to shilling anyway. So that's when it comes to marketing, what's coming up. When it comes to the question about partnerships, absolutely. So we mentioned Genomes DAO. That's the biggest one that we have so far. And as you may have mentioned, we announced it after we had signed the deal, after we had met with Aldo, who's the CEO of Genomes, after we had figured out the agreement with their team. And the reason for that is just very, very straightforward. Sometimes things fall through, and we don't like giving empty promises. We like delivering on promises. So all that to say, we are 100% working on other partnerships in the background. It's a big portion of my time management software, if you were to have access to that. And it's definitely something that we see the value in, whether it's core value alignment, whether it's doing co-marketing, whether it's potentially entering into business or working together, or even going further when we look towards the future. Interoperability, collaboration, those are two really big words for us. And especially when you look at medical data, having interoperability is a really big issue across the world. And so we're definitely going to be looking at, or going to be announcing partnerships in the future. But as I said, it's only once we've signed on the line, because we don't want to hype things and then have things fall through. So the answer is yes, partnerships are huge for us. It's something we're working on, and it's something we're really excited to share once we have the next ones lined up.
Yeah, so you repeated again our view on marketing. We're not a pump and dump project. We're here to stay. We're here to build something. Hence, our marketing is not directed to what you have seen in the past months with all the meme coin season, but it's actually something more organic, something that wants to drive value in an organic and fair way. And about the partnerships, I think it's another great thing of being in crypto is the level at which you can cooperate with others, not only on paper, but also on chain. And I hope we will be able to show some of this potential soon. But also, the way you can communicate with others, projects in this either way, you can build together something together in a relatively easier way. Now, moving on, we've had a question about AI from Jarud Quat. Some have dubbed 2023 as the year of AI. What are your thoughts on the potential for AI to be hyped up further? Is there still a significant space for speculation? Now, Lydia, I think you're the most expert among us about AI, so I would like to have you answering it.
Thank you for this question. Absolutely, artificial intelligence in medicine is just starting its revolution. Like, for you to know, we have a couple hundred AI algorithms registered as a medical devices worldwide, and one algorithm is responsible for one small part of medicine. For example, for assessing X-rays when it comes to one oncological illness, right? So we can see that this growth of number of AI algorithms is growing, and it's still not very high. In the same time, we already see how AI algorithms are changing and are revolutionizing health. For example, only one AI algorithm can lower a number of false negative diagnoses in cancer diagnosis. False negative diagnosis is the situation that you have cancer, but your radiologist, which is assessing your medical images, cannot see it yet because it's too early. So only one algorithm can lower false negative diagnosis about 10%. So it means that one AI algorithm can save hundreds of thousands of lives worldwide, and we are talking about hundreds of these AI algorithms. When we see what is happening in the AI in medicine and what is said by key opinion leaders in medicine, for example, when it comes to Polish Medical National Chamber, the president of this chamber said that AI is the revolution compared to development of penicillin when it comes to medicine. So it's a huge revolution that is just starting. And how we think about our project, because As I said previously, medical data is absolutely crucial for AI development. So we see a project, our medical data donation scheme and data lake token, as a crucial part for AI development. And the same, for example, you could observe it actually during the COVID-19 pandemic, that actually all of us learned that we need microprocessors chip for actually computers, cars, and very different electronic devices. And we couldn't buy, for example, a car because there were no microchips. And people who actually invested in companies that built these microchips were winners, because COVID-19 pandemic stopped or lower development of these microchips. We think about ourselves as these companies who produce microchips. So the crucial part for development of the very, very important medical solutions. So we are still at the beginning.
Thank you, Liga. Gerald, sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name right, but the guy or girl who asked this question is right when he or she says that 2023, it seems to be the year of AI, but it's important to note that our AI, in order to be trained, needs data. And as you said, we are maybe one step ahead in the sense that we are really unlocking medical data, because we expect the demand for this kind of data to increase by time, and in particular also because of the employment of AIs in healthcare. Thank you for your answer. Now moving on, another question asked by Messi J and RZ. No idea how to pronounce this nickname too, but we will keep going. Can you explain in more detail how your data donation framework works? What steps do patients need to take to consent to sharing their medical history? How do you ensure the privacy and security of patient data throughout the process? And I would like either Wojtek or Ligia to answer this question.
Sure, I'll take over gladly. So first of all, we focus on making it really simple. And that's why we work with healthcare providers, because we do nothing different from what healthcare providers are already doing every day with thousands of patients. That is collecting an informed consent. So we team up with healthcare providers. We tell them how to use our technology and our framework to collect consents from patients. And using the reach and the network of healthcare providers, we can collect the amount of consents that we need. And we can also collect population of patients. For instance, if we team up with an collect consents from people with an oncology diagnosis. So first of all, we do it really simple, both for the providers, because we are using the processes that are already there, but also for the patients, because the only thing that they need to do is to sign a consent form. They don't need to upload their data. They don't need to digitize their data. They don't need to do any kind of data processing or laborious work to be able to contribute to science. So first of all, we make it really, really easy. In the process, we also discovered that there is a need for tools to enable donation, tools for managing consents effectively. That's why one of our or the most important feature that is currently on our technology roadmap is the development of what we call an enterprise-grade consent application. So essentially, our thinking is to develop a technology based on Web3 and decentralized science principles that could be used by any kind of company that wants to collect from their users. So right now, we are focusing technologically more effective. So not only giving a patient portal for patients to be able to manage their consents, what we've already created, but also creating a tool for enterprises, for companies to be able to manage consents easily from a variety of their users.
Thank you, Wojtek. You gave a wide overview. You didn't only answer the question, but you also mentioned about the potential that our system has. And I hope everyone found that answer comprehensive, as I did. The next question was asked by Daisy, and the question is the following. What are some of the current initiatives or projects that Data Lake is working on to fulfill its mission of solving access to and bias in medical data with technology? And I would like to have either Ligia or Dini to answer this question. Let's see who picks it.
So maybe I will start, if I may, with this very important thing that we are working now when it comes to ethical and transparent and just access to medical data, because we are working on a policy of sharing data for very different organizations and companies. And this is a policy that actually states what are the exact prices, but for example, discounts for when it comes to cooperation, for example, with researchers that need data for non-commercial projects. So we are solving this problem with access not only for super mature technological and pharma companies. We are also cooperating with researchers that conduct non-commercial projects, and after we are actually in the process of accepting this policy by our ethical committee. After we accept it in a couple of weeks, we'll share it on our website. And when it comes to bias in medical data, of course, this just access will help with that, because it can provide the research not only in the fields that are interesting, for example, for pharma companies, but also fields that may be less interesting for mature companies, but maybe more interesting for researchers. And because we base our solution on a patient consent, we can provide medical data from very different patients groups. For example, we can focus on women, on men, we can focus on children, and we can collect this data from very different regions of Europe. And therefore, we can secure access not only to data that comes from, for example, patients living in the biggest cities in Europe.
Yeah, I just want to jump in. Thank you, Ligia, for that. How that actually looks on a day-to-day basis, and this is a little bit also on the update side, or kind of what we've achieved. But right now, we are working in more than 200 healthcare facilities. We have patient campaigns going, we have posters, we have flyers, we have websites, we have digital ads that are being shown across Poland. We have a reach of more than, I think, 25 million patients. It's probably gone up since I was last given that number. And, so we actually have a physical presence in hospitals, in healthcare facilities, in Polish websites that patients are visiting right now. So in terms of current initiatives or projects, that is kind of the lifeblood of what we're doing, which is actually going out, educating patients, talking with doctors, because some doctors don't even know the importance of medical data to the full extent yet. So there's a lot of education that has to happen, and part of being a trailblazer is that you actually have to do the hard work, and that's what we're currently doing when it comes to our patient campaigns. But on the other side of that, in terms of some of the initiatives and projects, we're also working at the European level. So we're working in conjunction with some of the European institutions. I already mentioned EIT Health. And to ensure that we have this multi-stakeholder coalition, this group of people that are pushing for ethical data access. So as I said, as a trailblazer, you have to do the hard work, the dirty work. You really have to get in there and talk to people. But what we're seeing, and why this is important, and why perhaps we're going to fail where we're going to succeed where some of the other projects have failed, is that when you look at the original data that Eurobarometer, which is the European Union's polling arm, has done, they said that you could expect around 30% of Polish patients to be willing to share their data for medical research. We're seeing a number closer to 80 or 90% with a lot of our campaigns. Why that is because we're doing it the right way, the hard way. We're doing the patient education campaigns, and this is really making a difference. So it's really hard to fully convey how important this part of the thing is. If we were just doing Facebook ads and saying, hey, give us your data, it's not going to work. You really, really have to be in the hospitals, talking to patients, talking to healthcare providers, running the campaigns, refining the campaigns, improving on them. So there's really, what you don't maybe see is there is a ton of work happening in the background on that end. And what we're doing and why it's important, we are refining our methods, we're improving our communications, we're finding out what works, what doesn't work, because when we go in the next months to year, and we look towards international expansion, we'll have already learned hard lessons. We'll have already learned what works and what doesn't, and we can then scale and expand at an exponentially faster rate when we go to our pan-European or even our global system. So it's really, a lot of, you'll hear this in a lot of crypto projects. We are early, but really, 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 this is so early when it comes to building this long-term sustainable value, this ecosystem that we're building. It does take time because you actually have to go out there and, as I said, do all of the things that we're doing. So those are the current initiatives that we're working on, but there are tons more that are going to be happening every week, every month. We're expanding to new hospitals. And as I said, we're looking for international expansion in the short-term future, and that will mean exponential growth as we open up tons and tons, 26 other countries of hospitals, of patients, of networks. So it's a really, really exciting time, and it's only going to get better.
Thank you, Dini. I mean, I couldn't feel more proud after all your encouraging periods about what we're building and really what are the perspective of what we're doing in our mission. And last question, at least among the ones that we prepared later, we will have the founders pick up some of the questions that I see you guys are asking. I don't really want to open the microphone because there's 20 of you requesting to talk, so it will be a bit difficult to organize that. So if you have any questions, feel free to comment here on the space or send us a message on the Telegram chat. We will for sure notice it. But before then, the last question we picked before is any update regarding the TV show organized by Hello Labs, for which we supported Data Lake by voting. And, since it's a marketing related question, I would like to ask Dini a quick update on that.
Yes, absolutely. So we're excited to let you know that we have been selected for the second season of their show. And you guys gave us a ton of support. We got over 6,000, I think it was about 6,400 votes, which is amazing. And to be honest, this is the best news possible. Why? Because it's a brand new show. We have no idea what the quality is going to be. We have no idea if it's going to be an absolute train wreck or not. However, if it is popular, if it does do well, the first season of something is almost always less watched than the other one. And there's usually a lot of issues, kinks that they have to work out, etc. So we are excited to say that we have been selected for the second season. And we will keep you guys updated as things go on. It'll be probably months before we start, figuring out the details. But yeah, let's see how the first season goes, and hopefully all goes well for the second season. Cool. So I think Wojtek would like to pick some of the questions from the chat. Would you like to handle the one about the number of consents, Wojtek?
Yes, so it's a question asked by Dev Holistic, and thank you for asking this one. I'll read it out loud. How large a consent base do we need to have in order for this to be of value to interested companies? Is it 5,000, 10,000, 100,000, or maybe more? At what rate are consents from patients coming in monthly, and what is the forecast for this? So, see, this is a very interesting question because the answer is not quite intuitive. So depending on the kind of disease and the kind of research project that we are pursuing, we are not counting the consents that are valuable for companies in hundreds of thousands, counting them in dozens or hundreds. Country over a year, then a database of even 20, 30, or 50 consents, it's already of substantial value. Same if we are talking about oncology conditions, where already a couple of hundreds of short, the number of consents needed to deliver the value to the clients depends on the size of the population of patients and on the type of the disease that we are.
Yeah, Dini, you're not the only one who can.
Let me just reiterate, just for anyone who maybe didn't catch that. So as Wojtek was saying, we're not counting in the hundreds of thousands when it comes to what client needs are, what researchers are needing. When it really depends on the disease that we're talking about, but it can be literally in the dozens or in the low hundreds, even 100 patients could be of immense value to researchers. Why? Because they don't have access to any of this data. So to be honest, we're finding that any number of data, any number of records is definitely attractive to people who are doing research. But when we're talking about very specific diseases, rare diseases, it could be a handful of patients. And so that's why what we're doing, is, when we say that we have represented almost 500,000 or half of the population of Poland, you can imagine that if researchers are looking for maybe a couple hundred records, depending on what their research is, we have a lot of potential people covered and a lot of potential business covered going into the future. So obviously, you have to find the customers. You have to figure out if you can access the data. You have to run the campaigns. But what we're doing, rather than doing this giant scattershot approach of trying to get everyone consent at the same time and have millions and millions of consents sitting in our database, what we're trying to do is figure out exactly what the most pressing research needs are, and then going targeted after the people who might want to contribute. And I just want to say something, when it comes to rare diseases and it comes to patients who have suffered from them, who have had family members who have suffered from them, they are more than willing to participate in life-saving and, for them, life-changing research. And really, I want to reiterate this. We are all about helping people and saving lives and finding new cures. And that is why we're so focused on doing this right and making sure it's ethical and making sure that we're helping the researchers who need the data that we can access, is because it really translates into people's lives being changed, their way of life improving, and potentially even saving their lives. And that's really what this is all about. So you may, as Wojtek was saying, it may be counterintuitive. However, even just a dozen or a low few hundreds of records can literally help save people's lives.
Yeah, I think this is a crucial point, the fact that even few consent are fundamental for research, because as of now, there's no easy access to them whatsoever. And so you don't need to collect consent on the scale of millions to have a successful business. And on that matter, we recently updated the number of consents gathered. It was 1,000, and we updated to more than 5,000. I mean, we really have many more consents gathered that we need to digitize, and then we will update the number again. But I mean, the collection is always ongoing. Day by day, we have new consents gathered, and I think that's the best news on an adoption point of view. Ligia or Wojtek again, since we couldn't hear you well before, or also Dini, would you like to take maybe another question from those 47 that were asked, plus the one on GUM, and then we can conclude the event in less than 10 minutes so that we make it exactly 1 hour and no one gets bored, hopefully.
Sure. Maybe, Ligia, if you want to take a look at the questions in the chat at the lower right and see if there's anything you want to answer. I just want to touch on the second half of the previous question when it comes to projections or how many consents or what's going on. So this is why the enterprise consent application that we mentioned earlier is so important. A lot of the consents that we're collecting right now are on paper in hospitals. They're actually been handing a form. And we always recognize that this is not the most ideal way because this is a way that it's always been done in the past, and it's just not efficient. So that's why we're working really, really hard to get this enterprise version of the consent application out, at which point, in the near future, once that's out, once that's being used, you will see a much, much quicker update of consent. So as of right now, we have to have a lot of them signed on paper. Because to be honest with you, a lot of patients will feel more comfortable with signing a document in the hospital rather than, hey, go to this website where you're home, people forget, et cetera. Once we switch to a mostly or all digital system, that number will start moving very, very quickly. But all that to say, as I said, we're in more than 200 healthcare facilities. We're only just at the beginning of our first couple of campaigns, and we're already collecting thousands and thousands of consents. That will scale up very, very quickly as we have more presence, but also as we move to a more digital system. So I just wanted to, touch on that and make sure that people know that as we go into the future, you will see that number tick up on a regular and ever-increasing basis.
Awesome. I will ask again. Okay, Ligia, you want to talk? Maybe you chose a question. The floor is yours.
Thank you, because very much one question that on the chat. It's a question from Cap and the question is like that. Many projects have problems with UI, UX, and this one turns off new users. How do you plan to improve the interaction with new users and with users outside the crypto space? And this is actually a crucial our project, because we have to secure the possibility to be our patient, even for people that are not that have no knowledge about crypto and about blockchain. So even if we use blockchain technology to secure all the information about flow of data and about given or withdrawn consent, and even if we provide tokens and benefits for patients, we actually created the whole system in the way that even if patients don't know anything about cryptocurrency or blockchain, they really easy join our system. They can collect benefits using points that are directly connected with tokens. And even if they don't connect their MetaMask wallet, they can be a part of our tokenomics. This is very because we have to lower barriers to enter our medical data donation scheme for every patient. And the other thing is that every graphic, content, text, and marketing materials are actually checked and approved by our ethical committee. So ethical committee consists of patients' organizations, and they have to be sure that all of the materials that we present for patients are understandable for them, are easy to read, to check, to understand what it is about, and secure their trust in the whole process, in the whole system. So we can't stress it enough that this is a really important thing for us to lower these barriers and to make the whole system very, very easy for patients.
I just want to say I couldn't agree with Ligia more here. I've been in business to consumer industry for a long, long time now. And there is one thing that I've learned, and I tell this at every single conference about blockchain: people don't care what a program or a system is running on underneath the hood. They really don't. Adoption comes when people don't even know that you're running on blockchain. It just works better than the other alternatives. And of course, we have tons of unique value propositions that blockchain brings, like openness, transparency, consensus, etc. But at the end of the day, it's like our banking system. People don't really care why SEPA works, the bank transfer to bank transfer technology. They just want to know that when they transfer money from their account to someone else's, or if they're expecting their paycheck, it's going to arrive in their bank account without issues. And this is really what we're talking about when it comes to the blockchain technology. For us, it's a tool. It's a very exciting tool. It offers some value that you cannot find in other technologies. At the end of the day, adoption will come when people don't have to understand the distributed ledger technology to be able to just give a consent, click, sign in, and get things done. And that's really what we're focused on, is bringing the best parts of the blockchain technology, making sure they are ingrained in our project. We are, solidly a Web3 blockchain project. But at the end of the day, when we're talking about patients in their 50s, 60s, I think our oldest donor is in their 90s or their late 80s, they are not going to be really caring or understanding anything about blockchain. They just want to participate and help people out and be a data donor. And so UI, UX is super important for us. We spend a lot of time, as Ligia said, discussing images and is this text going to be readable by a 70-year-old if they forgot their glasses, like all kinds of things. But they're really important because adoption does come when you make things as easy as possible. So really, really great question from our community. Thank you for that.
All right, we are exactly almost at the 1 hour since we started the event. I would like to thank everyone for participating. I took a screenshot of all the attendance, so we will be giving 3,000 LEG to one of those who retweeted, liked the tweet of the announcement of the event, and attended the event itself. So you will see a tweet about us announcing the winners in the coming days. Again, thank you for the participation. I hope you have a clear idea of what Data Lake is, but not only that, but also what Data Lake is becoming, what Data Lake aims to solve, and how we plan to do this, and how we do that on a day-by-day basis. Thank you also to Ligia, Wojtek, for taking your time and participating to the event. And I will meet you all tomorrow for the call with GenomeStyle. Be sure to attend that. We will be discussing our partnership. It will be hosted on their channel. So just search GenomeStyle and set a reminder for the Twitter space. And I'll see you guys there tomorrow at 8 p.m. Dini, remind me?
Nope, it's 5 p.m. CET on the GenomeStyle Twitter channel.
All right, awesome.
See you guys there.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for participating. Thank you, Wojtek, Ligia, Dini. I hope I'll see you guys all
For
tomorrow.
sure. Thank you to the community for showing up. We really, really appreciate you guys and girls and everything in between for supporting us, for being here. And hold on, because it's going to be a very exciting rest of the year.
And thank you, Andrea,
everyone.
for a great moderation of our discussion.
Agreed.
Thank you, Liga. I skipped introducing myself. I gave it for granted, but thank you.
Have a great
Bye,
night,
everyone.
everyone. Ciao, ciao.